Hello everyone. If you love heartwarming animal stories and want to follow the inspiring journey of these adorable friends, don't forget to hit the subscribe button now so you won't miss any of our videos. Now, let's dive into today's emotional story. Lily's cries echoed through the house, relentless and filled with a deep, aching pain that seemed to have no end. Her parents, Sophie and Mark, were desperate. They had tried everything they could think of to calm their newborn daughter, but nothing worked. The doctor had told them that Lily was born with severe colic, a condition that caused her constant discomfort. She cried for hours each day, her little body racked with pain. Sophie and Mark spent sleepless nights pacing the floor, desperately trying to soothe their child. They fed her, burped her, rocked her gently, but the cries continued, growing louder and more intense as the hours passed. Sophie often found herself feeling helpless. She had dreamed of motherhood for so long, but nothing had prepared her for the emotional toll of caring for a baby who was always in pain. She longed to see Lily smile, to hear her laugh, but instead, she felt a crushing sense of failure as each day seemed to get harder. Mark, too, felt the weight of the situation. He hated seeing Sophie so distressed, and he shared her frustration. He wanted to be the strong, capable father he had imagined he would be, but the constant crying made him feel powerless. He had read books, watched videos, and even tried new remedies suggested by well-meaning family members, but nothing provided lasting relief for Lily. One evening, after yet another exhausting day of trying to calm Lily, Mark sat down on the couch, rubbing his temples in exhaustion. Sophie sat next to him, her own fatigue evident in the slump of her shoulders. They exchanged a weary glance, both knowing that they had exhausted every option they could think of. "I just want her to be okay," Sophie said softly, her voice breaking. "I want to see her happy." "I know," Mark replied, his voice tight with emotion. "I'm starting to feel like we need something, anything, that might help." Sophie nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Maybe we need a change. Maybe we need a companion for her, someone who can comfort her when we can't." The idea of adopting a dog had crossed their minds before, but it had always felt like an afterthought, something they couldn't afford to focus on with Lily's health challenges. But now, as they sat together in their quiet, sorrowful home, the thought seemed to spark something in both of them, a glimmer of hope. After a few moments of silence, Mark looked at Sophie, a determined look in his eyes. "What if we do it? What if we get a dog? Maybe it could help Lily feel safe and comforted." Sophie's eyes widened as she considered the idea. A dog? But how would it help her? Mark shrugged, a small smile forming. "We've tried everything else. Maybe a dog could be the thing that changes everything. They're known to bring comfort and joy." Sophie's heart softened at the thought. She had heard of how dogs could help children with special needs, how their presence could bring a sense of calm. It seemed like a long shot, but it was a shot they had to take. She nodded. "Let's do it. Let's bring a dog into our family." With a sense of resolve, the couple began looking into local shelters. They wanted to adopt a dog that would be gentle, kind, and loving, someone who could provide the comfort Lily so desperately needed. It wasn't long before they found Leo, a small terrier who had been rescued from a shelter. Leo had a calm demeanor, and his big, soulful eyes immediately caught Sophie and Mark's attention. They knew, without a doubt, that he was the one. The day Leo came home, something magical began to happen. The first day Leo arrived in their home, the atmosphere shifted. Sophie and Mark watched with bated breath as the small terrier trotted into the living room, his tail wagging cautiously. He was a bundle of energy, yet there was a calmness to him that immediately put everyone at ease. Lily, lying in her crib, stirred slightly, her cries softening as Leo's presence filled the room. Sophie placed Leo gently beside Lily's crib, still unsure of what to expect. The puppy sniffed the air, then curled up next to the crib, resting his head on the floor, his eyes alert yet calm. Sophie had expected a bit of chaos, but instead, there was an undeniable peace in the room. Leo's presence, though quiet, was steady and reassuring. That night, when Lily began to cry again, her discomfort still evident despite all their efforts, Leo, without hesitation, trotted over to the crib. He gently nudged it with his nose, then gave a soft, low whimper. Sophie watched, surprised, as Lily's cries faltered. She didn't stop crying completely, but the intensity of her distress seemed to lessen as Leo lay quietly beside the crib, his soft whines almost like a lullaby. Mark came into the room and saw the scene, Sophie sitting on the edge of the crib, watching in awe as their baby's cries gradually slowed down. Leo, the puppy, was lying near her, gently nudging the crib every now and then, offering a silent form of comfort. This is incredible," Mark whispered, his voice filled with wonder. He reached down to pet Leo, his heart swelling with gratitude. The bond between the puppy and their daughter seemed to form instantly, as if Leo understood the special kind of help she needed. In the days that followed, Leo's presence became a constant comfort for Lily. Whenever she cried, Leo would appear by her side, sitting or lying next to her crib, his warmth providing a sense of reassurance. His gentle whines and calm demeanor were all it took to settle her down. Sophie and Mark continued to work tirelessly with their daughter, but now there was a sense of peace in the house they hadn't felt before. Leo's constant companionship allowed them to see Lily's needs in a new light, helping them understand that sometimes, all a baby needed was the calming presence of an empathetic companion. As Lily began to get a bit older, her cries became less frequent. It wasn't that she no longer cried, of course, babies cried, but it was as though she had learned to find comfort in Leo's presence. His loyalty, so unconditional and steady, had become her anchor. Sophie couldn't help but smile as she saw her baby's face soften whenever Leo was near. One evening, after a particularly difficult day when Lily's colic had flared up again, Sophie sat with Leo in the living room, her exhaustion palpable. As Lily cried in her crib, Sophie sighed, not sure how to help her any longer. But Leo, as if sensing her despair, trotted over to the crib, nudging it once more. His gentle whine had a soothing effect, and Lily slowly began to calm down. Sophie watched in awe, her heart swelling with gratitude. "That's it, isn't it, Leo?" Sophie whispered. "You know just what she needs." From that moment on, it became clear, Leo wasn't just a dog to them. He was a healer. His quiet presence, his calm energy, was the missing piece of the puzzle they hadn't known they were looking for. Leo had become not just a pet, but a member of the family in the truest sense. And with each passing day, Lily's condition began to improve. Her cries lessened, her sleep became more peaceful, and Sophie and Mark found themselves breathing easier, knowing that they didn't have to face this challenge alone. The bond between Leo and Lily had formed a special connection, a silent understanding of love and comfort. As Leo continued to watch over her, Sophie and Mark knew they had found something precious, something they would cherish for the rest of their lives, the power of a puppy's love. As the weeks passed, it became increasingly evident that Leo's presence was playing a vital role in Lily's progress. The relentless crying episodes that had once left Sophie and Mark feeling powerless were now fewer and farther between. With Leo's help, Lily's emotional state seemed to stabilize. The once frantic, inconsolable cries had softened into gentle whimpers, and, at times, she would even smile at Leo, her tiny face lighting up whenever he lay next to her. Sophie was astounded by the bond that had formed between the two. The first time Lily reached out her tiny hand toward Leo, Sophie's heart skipped a beat. It was the first true sign of interaction that she had seen from her daughter in weeks. Lily's small fingers grasped Leo's soft fur, her face calm for the first time in hours. Leo, ever patient and gentle, didn't move. He simply lay there, allowing Lily to feel his warmth and reassurance. It was clear that Leo wasn't just offering comfort, he was offering Lily a form of communication, a connection she hadn't been able to find with anyone else. Sophie and Mark had tried everything. They'd followed every piece of advice given to them by pediatricians, therapists, and specialists. Yet, no matter what they did, it seemed as though their little girl was adrift in a sea of discomfort. But now, with Leo by her side, things were slowly starting to change. One morning, after a particularly long night of tears and restless sleep, Sophie and Mark woke to find Leo curled up beside Lily's crib, as he often did. But something felt different this time. There was a peacefulness in the room that had been absent before. Lily, who had always been fussy after waking up, was now lying quietly in her crib, gazing at Leo with a calm expression on her face. Sophie stepped closer, trying not to disturb the moment. "Mark," she whispered. "Look at this. She's so calm." Mark, who had just entered the room, couldn't hide the amazement in his eyes. "It's like she knows he's there, Sophie," he said, a touch of awe in his voice. "She looks so peaceful." As they watched, Sophie saw Lily's tiny hands reach out once again for Leo. This time, instead of just a light touch, Lily grasped Leo's ear and pulled it gently toward her. Leo, in his usual patient manner, allowed Lily to hold him, his eyes soft and understanding. Sophie could feel her own heart swell with emotion. "She's starting to trust him," Sophie whispered, more to herself than to Mark. "This is the breakthrough we've been waiting for." Sophie continued to observe how Leo interacted with Lily over the coming days. Leo had become a silent guide, offering her the stability and comfort she needed without demanding anything in return. He would lay near her crib during her naps, quietly watching over her. When Lily became fussy, Leo would nudge the side of her crib, his gentle presence calming her almost instantly. Sophie marveled at how Leo seemed to intuitively know when Lily needed him most. Mark, too, began to notice the change in Lily. Her energy was more stable, and her episodes of distress seemed to decrease with each passing day. She had begun to show interest in the world around her, something that hadn't been present in the early days after her birth. Sophie and Mark had tried so hard to help Lily, but it was Leo's love, patience, and understanding that seemed to have made all the difference. One afternoon, when Lily was 4 months old, Sophie was sitting on the couch with her daughter in her lap, gently rocking her to sleep. Leo was nearby, lying on the floor, keeping an eye on the two of them. Sophie smiled softly, knowing that their little family had found a balance. Lily's cries were becoming less frequent, and when they did come, Leo was there, his calming influence working like magic. "Sophie," Mark said from across the room. "I think we've found our way." "I really do." Sophie nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "It's Leo, Mark. He's made all the difference." And it was true. Leo had become more than just a pet. He was Lily's guide, her protector, her comforter. He had brought peace to their home and, in doing so, had helped Lily find her place in the world. As the days turned into weeks, Lily's colic began to improve significantly. She started to smile more often, her little face lighting up with joy whenever Leo was near. The once endless hours of crying and discomfort were replaced with moments of tranquility, and Sophie and Mark could finally see the hope they had longed for. One evening, as they watched Leo lie next to Lily's crib, Sophie couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She looked at Mark, who was watching their daughter with pride. "This is what we've always hoped for," Sophie said softly. "Lily is finally at peace." Mark nodded, his gaze fixed on their daughter. "And Leo helped her get there." Sophie smiled, watching the bond between Leo and Lily grow stronger with each passing day. She knew that, with Leo by her side, Lily would continue to thrive. He had shown them the true meaning of patience, loyalty, and unconditional love, and in doing so, he had healed their little girl in ways they never thought possible. And as the days went by, Sophie and Mark knew one thing for certain: their family, now complete with the loving presence of their dog Leo, was stronger than ever. As time passed, Lily's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. The once frantic crying spells had become rare, and when they did occur, Leo was there with his calming presence to soothe her. Sophie and Mark marveled at the change in their daughter, but it wasn't just Lily who had changed, so had they. The months of sleepless nights, worry, and uncertainty had given way to a sense of peace and gratitude they had never imagined possible. One sunny morning, as the family gathered in the living room for their daily routine, Sophie found herself watching Lily and Leo. Lily was now sitting on the floor, surrounded by her toys, and Leo was nearby, his soft eyes following her every move. Sophie had always dreamed of this moment, the moment when she could see her daughter happy, at peace, and thriving. And now, she had that. Mark walked over to Sophie and put a gentle arm around her shoulder. "Can you believe how far she's come?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. Sophie nodded, her eyes fixed on Lily. "I never thought we'd get here. But with Leo, everything changed. He's been more than a dog. He's been her protector, her guide, her companion. He's given us the peace we needed." Leo, as always, remained close by Lily's side, nuzzling her gently as she laughed and played with her toys. Sophie could see how much Lily had grown, emotionally, physically, and mentally. She was more confident now, more engaged with the world around her. The bond between Lily and Leo was undeniable, and Sophie knew it was Leo's unwavering love and support that had helped Lily reach this point. As Sophie watched them, she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had witnessed firsthand how animals could provide healing in ways humans often couldn't. Leo's presence had been a constant source of comfort, and Sophie realized just how powerful that connection had been for her daughter. Later that evening, after they had tucked Lily into bed, Sophie and Mark sat together on the couch, reflecting on their journey. The house was quiet now, but there was a sense of calm they hadn't felt before. Their family had grown in ways they couldn't have imagined when they first brought Leo into their lives. "I still remember the day we brought him home," Mark said, a smile tugging at his lips. "He was so small, so timid. I didn't know how much he'd end up changing everything for us." Sophie smiled back, her eyes glistening. "He was just what we needed. He's taught us patience, love, and how to embrace the unexpected. He's not just a pet, he's family." In the weeks that followed, Lily continued to thrive. Her emotional and physical progress was more than Sophie and Mark had hoped for. She began to crawl, then sit up on her own, and before long, she was standing with the help of a walker. Each step forward felt like a victory, and each victory was shared with Leo, who was there every step of the way, offering his support and love. One afternoon, as they took a walk together through the park, Sophie and Mark watched as Lily toddled along with her walker, a huge smile on her face. Leo walked beside her, his head held high, proud of the little girl he had helped guide through so many challenges. Sophie's heart swelled with pride as she watched her daughter, now confidently taking steps on her own. She thought about the long road they had traveled to get here, the countless sleepless nights, the worry, the uncertainty, and how, through it all, Leo had been the unwavering constant that had kept them grounded. He had taught them all the importance of perseverance, love, and the strength of family. As they stood there, watching Lily take her first unassisted steps, Sophie whispered to Mark, "This is just the beginning." Mark nodded, his eyes filled with emotion. "With Leo by her side, she's going to do amazing things. He's shown us that anything is possible." The bond between Lily and Leo had not only healed her heart and body but had also brought their family closer than ever. Sophie and Mark had discovered that, sometimes, the answer to life's challenges doesn't come from the people around us, but from the unconditional love of an animal who believes in us when we can't believe in ourselves. And as they walked home, with Lily giggling and Leo trotting happily beside her, Sophie and Mark knew one thing for sure: their family was complete, and their hearts were full. With love, perseverance, and the gentle guidance of their loyal dog, Lily's future was bright, and their family's journey was just beginning. The story of Lily and her dog Leo highlights the transformative power of unconditional love and companionship, showing how animals can provide emotional and physical healing. Lily, born with a challenging condition, was unable to find comfort in the world around her until she met Leo, whose presence and devotion helped her cope with her struggles. Through Leo's consistent support, Lily began to gain confidence, develop physically and emotionally, ultimately taking her first steps. This powerful bond between animal and child exemplifies how pets can play a crucial role in a child's recovery, offering comfort when nothing else can. In real life, this story mirrors the experiences of many children with special needs, who often find solace and strength in their connection with animals. Pets like dogs have an innate ability to sense a child's emotions and provide comfort in ways humans cannot always do. This story also teaches us the importance of patience, perseverance, and the impact of supportive relationships in overcoming adversity. In our daily lives, animals often remind us of the power of unconditional love, showing that healing, whether emotional or physical, can come in unexpected forms.